Today on Morning Drive. The United States team has won the President's Cup in dominant fashion. With a core of young stars leading a team loaded with talent, could the United States be in the middle of a dynasty in team events? Jeff Shackelford and Randall Chambly join us live as we examine just how bright the future is for the Americans.
We were going to win no matter what.
This is a special team. There's not only a lot of great talent here, but they're getting the best out in each other, and it's exciting to see. It's exciting to be a part of.
Plus, the final round of the Web.com Tour Championship tees off this morning. With PGA Tour cards on the line for next season, we're ready with live reports from Atlantic Beach Country Club to get you set for a dramatic final day. And Dustin Johnson was the winningest player in the President's Cup, earning 4.5 points without ever losing a match. Michael Breed will be in studio to teach you how to dial in your wedges like the world number one. It's all ahead on Morning Drive this Monday, October 2nd, 2017.
Good morning, welcome inside Studio AP for this Monday edition of Morning Drive. Gary Williams, Carl Robinson, Robert Dameron, and John Cook. And we cover the game of golf, but like many of you waking up this morning in this country and around the world are realizing that the events in Las Vegas are so horrific and so devastating and so sad that we would be remiss if we did not start the show by acknowledging that our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody affected by one of the worst mass shootings in the history of this country. Believe me, we'll be thinking about you all day and in the days going forward because this affects so many people. But we cover the game of golf, and we will do that over the next 2.5 hours. And we'll start with the big team competition that concluded yesterday. The United States, in dominant fashion, won the President's Cup 19-11. They got great performances from a lot of players, many of whom were playing international team competitions for the first time at the professional level. When you look at the single match results, the internationals showed a lot of pride on Sunday to put a lot of blue up on the board, but it was just overwhelming. The United States knew they only needed 1 full point to win the cup. They did just that. And as I said, they got great performances all week from virtually every single player on this side. Let's hear from the winners.
It was kind of satisfying because how well we played leading into today. I mean, really today, we could have sent 3 guys out there and, figured out a way to get 1 point.
We've always come together and really enjoyed each other's friendship and company these weeks, the experiences, the highs, the lows. And those moments bring you closer, and those relationships last a career.
I saw a great team. Really proud of and happy for these guys. Obviously, we've known there's a lot of camaraderie. We had 5 young players or 5 new players to international competition, so it's great to see them not only compete and get experience, but play really, really well.
Any of these guys that are here, I mean, they're also good. They've been around this a number of times. They have a tremendous amount of experience. You can't go wrong. I mean, they made it so easy. For me this week, we were all on the same page, and then plus the guys were winning, so it was easy from that standpoint, putting guys together, and they made great decisions, and they take this very seriously.
I've believed and known how good these players are. I've seen it, how talented these guys are, and for them to bring out the best in each other and is just impressive. You don't get a performance like we had this week without that little something extra, that little special something, and these guys brought it out in each other. It's fun to be a part of.
Well, this was the second fastest the President's Cup has been clinched in the history of the competition after, coincidentally, Nick Price won the deciding point for the international team in just the second match of Sunday singles in 1998. Before, 24-year-old Daniel Berger became the youngest player to clinch the cup for either side yesterday. He was also the first ever rookie to do so in what was the 4th match out at Liberty National. It had been one of his assistant captains, Davis Love, that previously had the honor for Team USA, securing the trophy in the 5th match out in 2000. So with that in mind, Robert, who do you think was the standout player in this winning United States team?
In the history of team competition, has a rookie ever seemed or felt like less of a rookie than Justin Thomas did out there? I mean, I don't think the international squad goes, hey, here's our chance. We've got this guy with no experience whatsoever, and we're just going to wear him out. Had he come in flat-footed after the playoffs, after winning the $10 million in the FedEx Cup, after all the PGA Championship, we would have understood. We would have thought, fine, you know, he's a little worn out. He was the opposite. He was a great cheerleader. He was the most demonstrative player on either team, I think, as far as fist pumps and running around and high fives. He gave us some great quotes, especially after the burger match, and he played rock solid. Even in his loss to Hideki, he birdied 8 of his first 12. I mean, it's not like he went out there and kind of fell asleep and was partying because the cup was, for all intents and purposes, over. He played hard. He just ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw on Hideki, but I thought he did a fantastic job, and internationals and Europeans get used to seeing this guy.
I love seeing what these team competitions do for these players' kind of psyche and emotions. Justin Thomas has had a blockbuster career year, no doubt about it, but we have not seen that kind of emotion from him on the golf course when he won his first major championship, when he won the FedEx Cup, but we saw it this weekend, Cookie. I loved it. Who was the standout player for you?
With 11 of the 12 U.S. players playing in the Tour Championship and all the way through the playoffs, you could have said, God, they're going to lack energy. Are they really going to get up for this? Every single player just seemed like they had energy. They were ready to go. And, you know, my top guy is Dustin Johnson, going 4-0-1. 2 different disciplines with 2 different partners, with Matt Kuchar in the foursomes and with Brooks Koepka in the 4-ball. He just never missed a beat. He looked like he had energy. He looked like he was just on point. Every single shot that he hit was just a quality golf shot, like we're used to seeing Dustin Johnson hit in the last few years. He just looked like that #1 player in the world, and he didn't miss a beat. I think that the nucleus of this team is just outstanding.
I'd be remiss to not mention the name Phil Mickelson. When you go back to 2014, he laid down the gauntlet and put a lot of pressure on himself going forward. What he did in Korea, the way he played at Hazeltine, that singles match against Sergio, have another good week at the advancing age of 47 after what happened at Glen Eagles. Very, very impressive. Now, big picture, we don't know if Phil Mickelson's going to be in Paris. Can he dial it up one more time and be on another team? But when you look at the nucleus, Robert and John, does this have a making of this core group going on a run and winning a lot of these things in a row?
It is certainly lined up for that, with the youthful exuberance that these kids show, how much they like being around each other, how much they like playing competition, whether it's against each other or with the team. This nucleus is really, really solid. And to your point, Gary, a couple years ago at the Ryder Cup at I think Glen Eagles, I guess.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah, 2014, and that awkward press conference at the end with the U.S. and Phil kind of challenging Watson. We're all kind of going, oh my God, what is he doing? He actually made a point. He actually had. That was a breakthrough moment for me, where he started to challenge, what are we doing here? We need more of a program. We need a solid group of individuals getting together, putting our heads together. We've won, we've lost, we've done all this. Why and how can we win? And what they put into place is actually working, and it's working big time. It's worked in the last couple President's Cups. It worked at the Ryder Cup. It's going to work again, going forward into Paris next year.
Well, Dustin Johnson was very lively in the press conference yesterday evening. It was quite a comical moment, charismatic moments from a lot of them. But he kind of joked, "Oh, call Mickelson assistant captain," because he pretty much is. And there was a tweet that came out this week from Keegan Bradley, who's a former partner of Phil Mickelson's in Ryder Cup competition, as we know. And he said the neat thing is, every single one of those guys on the United States team have been part of a Tuesday practice round with Phil Mickelson, and there is no doubt there's a lot of planning that goes into that, Robert. It's like he takes an unofficial kind of captaincy role in these events.
Yeah, almost like a Michael Jordan when he was playing with the Bulls. That yes, the rest of the team was listening to Phil Jackson, but they also kind of were listening to what Michael Jordan had to say, and maybe even override the coach sometimes. I think it struck me on Saturday as I was watching the 4-ball competition, and I'm watching DJ and Koepka, and it struck me that in what world is DJ Koepka the third best pairing you can put out? I mean, you know, Spieth and Reed obviously were unbelievable. Ricky and JT were fit together perfectly. And we almost got lost at Dustin Johnson and Koepka. These two unbelievable players, bombers, were kind of lost behind those two guys.
One last thing, this young core group, they don't have a lot of bad memories.
Right.
When you think about the likes of Steve Stricker and Jim Furyk, they lost all those times. These guys don't have those experiences. They have great memories, confident memories.
Yeah, this is their third straight win in a team event
Yes.
with the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup 4 years ago. One thing's for sure, Thomas Bjorn would have been watching closely this weekend. because he was
Actually,
gonna
I think you should have turned it off, maybe, not watched.
Europe are going to have their work cut out in Paris, but we have got a year to go until then. Let's get to what else is happening now. And PGA Tour officials announced yesterday that the final round of the Web.com Tour Championship would be postponed until today due to heavy rains that entered the Atlantic Beach area on Sunday, leaving the country club unplayable. It does resume at 7:45 a.m. Eastern Time this morning, and coverage begins today at 11:30 a.m. Eastern right here on Golf Channel.
All right.
And it is five-time PGA Tour winner Jonathan Bird who holds a two-stroke advantage over the local favourite Sam Saunders heading into today's final round. Now, no one on this leaderboard secured a PGA Tour card during the regular Web.com Tour season. So, Gary, there is an awful lot on the line today.
Yeah, and there are a lot of former members of the PGA Tour on that first page. Top 25 players on the finals money list earn their PGA Tour cards for the wraparound season, which begins next week. The top 20 players on the regular season money list who already earned PGA Tour cards playing for priority ranking, which is vitally important. So with that being said, Robert Dameron, who is a player you're looking at? A lot of pressure.
Well, first off, well done by Web.com pushing it into Monday, even though the players that get their card are going to have to rush over to Safeway.
Got nothing,
This is a
got to
big
get it
event.
done.
We got to get that 72 holes in. I'm looking at Jonathan Bird. Sleeping on a two-shot lead is difficult. I suppose it's difficult. I don't remember doing it. But doing it 2 nights in a row is doubly hard. I mean, and it gives you so much time to get those what ifs. What could happen? What if I don't play well? And he's only made a little over 5,000 in this playoff. So he can't go out and in this 15, 25 mile an hour day, which we're going to have today, he can't go out and get sloppy. If he turns in 40 or 41, let's say, he runs the risk of not just blowing this tournament, but blowing his card because he's got really no money to fall back on. So, you know, he's a great player, 5-time tour winner. He's very experienced. It's just going to be tough. If he can get the driver in play, he'll be fine. But you got to keep an eye on Jonathan Bird today and see what he does and see how he starts, especially out of the gate, handling those nerves of, you know, 2 straight days of sleeping on that lead.
Yeah, a lot of injury setbacks for Jonathan over the last 5 years. How about you, John?
Yeah, Jonathan Bird with, you know, that veteran guy trying to get back on tour, and good for him to even keep approaching that. I'm looking at Sam Saunders, looking at a couple different players, but Sam Saunders improving each and every year, just getting better and better. We all know how good he is. You've seen him grow up and seen the levels that he has gotten to, and this is just that next level. He, you know, 129 on the money list, you know, on the point list last year, so he would have a little bit of access to the tour. Opened with 59, followed it right back up with 66. Didn't have a great day on Saturday, but he's still right there. You're chasing that card. He's right now 31st on the Web finals money list, so he does need some going. He doesn't have a whole lot of wiggle room as well, and you want to get up that priority list. So a win would put him way up there. You know, a top 5 would certainly get him up into a better priority ranking to get himself into some of these events, especially in the fall where you have to start making your move right there. But you know, it'd be a good day and a good day for golf if Sam had a really nice solid round of golf, whether he wins or whatever, but get that and secure that position for next year.
Yeah, it might be tough to sleep on a 2-shot lead 2 nights running in the case of Jonathan Bird, but also tough to follow up a 59, which Sam Saunders produced on Thursday. He's done a pretty good job of doing that so far. Now, are these the guys that are under the most pressure today, or is there someone else on the leaderboard, bearing in mind those ranking lists and priority orders that we have to concentrate on?
I mean, that's just, each player knows where they are. And, you know, the pressure going into, you know, today is that this is the final, this is it. We start this week. We actually start tomorrow, you know, in Napa. So where am I going to be? Am I going to be, you know, having the rest of the year off? starting in January, or am I going to get myself to Napa to start the 2017-2018 season?
How do you control all of that, though, going on in your brain, Robert, when you're trying to play and focus on really the round that's at hand, but you know everything that's at stake that comes with it?
Those thoughts come your way. You can't stop them. You're a human being. It's not, and you can't avoid them. But if you fight them, you can make it worse. If you tell yourself, look, dummy, you're not supposed to think like this. Try not to think. You actually kind of get yourself more wound up. A trick I heard from a sports psychologist friend of mine is imagine these thoughts hitting like leaves in a stream, and they just hit and they just go. Accept them. They're there. Don't fight it. Just let it slide on past. Don't give it much emphasis. If you get out there and try to fight and go through that war in your head the day before, and once you tee off and out on the course, your odds of playing bad are greatly increased.
All right, percentage of players in this field who last night looked at their projected number.
Oh, we're all mathematicians now, aren't we?
Right.
Well, if I play this way and this guy makes a birdie here and then I go this way.
Overwhelmingly?
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Oh, definitely.
It was all guesswork a few years when John and I were playing. It was guess, maybe.
Yeah.
Now
Maybe
you're up to the minute. I mean,
up to the shot.
Up to the shot. We're watching at Dell Technologies, Russell Henley bogeys, and it sent Hoffman out of the President's Cup and Chappell in, and it was a mess. It was just people on the course that you at no effect you are affecting you. Sometimes less is more, I think, and the less you know, and just go out and play golf, and hopefully things take care of themselves.
Because when you're on the golf course today, it's not necessarily going to be that easy while you're playing your own game to keep track of what's going on. I mean, depending on what your caddy manages to work out. But that is all we have to look forward to later on today, but also happening now. 24-year-old Paul Dunn produced a fantastic closing 61 to win the British Masters, hosted by Lee Westwood at Close House Golf Club in Newcastle, England. The Irishman had a stellar amateur career, playing in the Walker Cup and holding the 54-hole lead at the Open in 2015. But this is his first professional win in his 51st European Tour event after losing out in a playoff to Eduardo Molinari at the Trophy Hassan II in April. Now, he held off a late charge from Rory McIlroy, who birdied 5 of his last 7 holes to produce a Sunday 63 and get to 17 under par. The world number 6, who didn't qualify for the Tour Championship, backed up a Saturday 64 and eventually settled for second place. A huge turnout of crowds as well. Meanwhile, more news of the day. Brooke Henderson battled through the elements all week long to emerge with a 5-shot victory and her 5th career LPGA title on Sunday at Windross Farm Golf Course in New Zealand. The 20-year-old from Canada played her first 6 holes in 3 under par. Gary?
All right, well, the tee sheet on this Monday morning, Card just mentioned the LPGA. There was controversy there because Belen Motho was very fortunate not to get struck by a sign because of the very, very high winds. We're going to discuss that with Ron Syrak as we move along this morning. Also, Brandel Chambly, he covered the President's Cup, and we'll talk to him about the partnership of Spieth and Reed. And is there a historical comparison of 2 American players along their lines, because they are putting together a remarkable resume and they're still exceptionally young. And Dustin Johnson, you could argue, he was the man of the match. He didn't lose a match. He was 4-0-1. And the host of The Fix, Michael Breed, will be along. Dustin Johnson, for the last 2 years, has dialed in his wedges. It's not just about distance. Can you really hit your wedges like Dustin Johnson? Michael Breed believes that you can. It is 18 minutes past the hour. Nice to have you with us on this Monday edition of Morning Drive.
That looked breezy. Just a slight breeze there in New Zealand.
Gentle zephyr.
Holy mackerel.
Zephyr.